Okay, so for this version of the basket pose, this is the one where the baby is going to be laying on their back and they're going to be all curled up and tucked down into the basket, and then you're going to shoot it from above. And I like to transition into this one from the regular basket pose if I chose to use a bucket or basket that is big enough to do this with, because it is a pretty simple transition. Like you just saw, all I had to do was lift the baby out, flip him over, and lay him down on his back. Now his little butt's going to go down into the inside of the coil, and then his head is going to lay where his head was laying before. So that little section that's already supported and already bumped up from where he was laying before is where his head's going to lay now. And the reason for that, not only because I already did it once and it is a nice comfy spot for him, but also because when his head is bumped up, it pushes his chin downward toward his chest, and that will give him a more nice curled up look instead of having him just laying flat on top of the basket. His legs are going to stay nice and curled up here. And at this point, I had lifted his butt and I was looking around for something to put underneath it to keep it lifted, but I didn't have anything close by, so ultimately I just decided to reach under and bump up the existing blanket that was underneath him to keep his butt lifted. Now, the blanket that is snug around his little butt and his legs, I'm going to pull that kind of inward toward his body to keep his legs tucked up where they are and to keep everything held in place. And right now I'm just repositioning the basket in relation to the light. Here we go. Fixing the rug. Okay. And then I believe this is the point where I'm going to pull the blanket up just enough to hold those little legs in place. Make sure that everything looks neat. And then I'm going to bump up his head even more, which is going to bring his chin downward toward his chest. And his face is facing toward the light, not only so that it is best lit, but also when I am shooting this image from above, whatever direction his face is facing toward, I want him to be looking out toward the negative space. So if he's looking off toward the right, then I'm going to place him in the left of my frame so that he's looking out toward the negative space of my image and not straight out of the frame, which you'll see in the final product. And I tried to put his hand on his face, but he just wasn't really in an optimum position for it. So instead I decided just to leave him on his chest instead. And then he's all good to go. And I should be ready to go ahead and take my shot here. I'm going to switch out from my 50mm to my 16-35. That way I have a wide enough angle to shoot from, since I'm shooting directly overhead. And then I'm going to do this one as a full body with him over toward the one side of the frame. And I'm also going to get in closer and get a cropped shot of just like his head and upper body as well. And again, kind of like with the womb wrap, this is a great pose to get some detail macro shots because everything is nice and curled up together, but it's all out in the open where you can get an easy shot of it. Just be extra careful with boys and girls alike to make sure that when your legs are crossed that everything is all put away and you cannot see any private parts. And that is this pose.